Hello everyone, welcome back to another guide for the dungeon. This time it's the second dungeon and the materials that you need to craft the entry ticket is the same as for the first dungeon. If you don't know the materials, pause the video in the beginning. I wrote down the materials you need that you can look up in the marketplace and buy them. There's usually always on the market. If they're off the market, they usually come up every time, so there's no problem, you can always get in. And then interact with the Sol Magia and select Sycrakea instead of Vachmalkia and just click enter. Once you're inside of the dungeon, of course if you're doing the quest line, at some point you're gonna start killing the mobs. I'm gonna explain you the mechanics for the two elite mobs. First one is Lykina. It's like Lycan in Sycrakea, but of course this one has mechanics. Once he does a special attack, he goes underground and you have to kill the 3 mobs that he spawns with the blue aura as fast as possible. So once you take care of these 3 mobs, Lykina loses all the DP, just like in the previous dungeon if you did mechanics on elite mobs, and Lykina would lose all its DP and you can just burst through him without, taking too much time killing him. Also, there is a scorpion-like mob, Cartios, and his mechanic is if he puts the tail in front of you and has a yellow glow and he's sucking from the ground, you start DPSing. Now, when his tail starts glowing green, you stop DPSing. You can also see it by him, unleashing power into the ground, or whatever you want to call it. That's when you stop DPSing, and you wait until the yellow glow starts again, and then you start DPSing the tail again. If you do this correctly, he loses all his DP, gets knocked down, and you have free time to DPS. As for the puzzle number 1, you have to make sure all 9 of these towers are activated. If you activate one of them, all the pillars around it also activate. Regardless, trial and error, play a bit, and eventually the puzzle is done. Second puzzle, you have 2 places. Now, it's the best if you have somebody to do it with you, because you don't want to run back and forth. What you need to do is you need to make sure these 4 cubes are identical on the other side, and you can change them by going on the platform right beneath the cubes, and that changes the cube on the other side. You have 1 stripe, you have 2 stripes, you have half half a square, and then you have a full square. Half a square is usually 3, full square is 4. You need to make sure the squares are identical on both sides, and then behind the behind the cubes, there is these 3 pillars. These 3 pillars have also light beams on them, and you can change those light beams by standing on these 3 platforms in the beginning. And once all the light beams are lit up on the other side and the cubes are identical on both sides, then the puzzle is completed and you can move on. Also, make sure to grind up 4 scales and 2 eggs in the previous area, because you will need those materials in order to craft the item to continue for the first mini boss. Now, once you do have grinded up the items, you combine them with simple alchemy to get your first piece in order to summon the boss. Now, this mini boss is no big deal, there's not much mechanics. I wouldn't recommend ignoring them, but I would definitely recommend doing them. There's 4 fire areas. You want to drag the fishes that spawn in this area, these pisces fishes, and you want to kill them on the fire areas next to the squids preferably. And once you kill them, those fire areas gets extinguished and cooled down. Once all of the 4 areas are cooled down, the boss actually loses all of his strength. He loses all of his AP basically. He's gonna barely do any damage, and he's gonna lose all of his defensive powers, and you can freely DPS him as much as you want. If the stage is over, he gets his defenses back, and you have to do the flame stage again, extinguish the fire, and repeat it, and then DPS and kill him eventually. and then you'll get his tentacle item that you require for combining later on to enter the last mini boss. And then with that last mini boss you will get an item to go to the last boss. Now this puzzle is also fairly easy. This is a trial and error puzzle. You have 4 cubes around the big pillar, and you can interact with the pillar and have 2 options, either reset or check. You want to keep checking the status of the pillar every time you attack one of these cubes, and the moment you have the correct icons on a certain cube, the cube all the way in the back there gets a different icons or like signs on it. You have 1 stripe, you have 2 stripes, you have 2 stripes with a dot inside, and you have 2 stripes with 2 dots inside. I usually count them up as 0 to 4, and the cube in the back there has to be at 2 lines and 2 dots, so basically at 4. Once that cube in the back there is at 4, you have completed the puzzle. So it's basically a lot of interacting back and forth, but don't spam the interaction button, because I tried with a friend and it's not the best solution because it can glitch out. So once you clear this puzzle, you can move on. In this open area there is poison mobs, malas. If you knock them down, they are pretty annoying. They do a lot of poison damage, so I do recommend to try not using knockdowns, or at least try not attacking malas in general. You have to grind up 4 scales and 2 eggs again here, and then those new eggs and these new scales, you have to simple alchemy them into your next item to spawn the mini boss. This mini boss is a snake, similar to the last boss, but well, a small version, let's say. For this snake, you have only 2 mechanics that are really important to do. He sends out poison balls to pillars. These pillars, you have to kill them, but keep a note that you do not kill all the pillars. You only kill the concentrated ones and leave the unstable ones alive. How can you tell which one is unstable and which one is concentrated? Now, either you look at the name or you look at the shiny lightning effect that the pillar has. If it has a shiny lightning effect, that means that one is unstable. Also, the name says it. Concentrated above the name of the pillar, or unstable above the name of the pillar. Once you have done this stage, he will consume those pillars, and if only the unstable ones are left, he gets a massive DP debuff where you can burst him through. There's also random pearls all around this area. Now those pearls you can pick up, and once he starts doing the petrifying breath attack, you can literally revert that attack into himself and he gets petrified himself. I would guess the right word for that would be parry, and in this occasion I parry him and he gets petrified. And that's a solid 10 to 15 seconds of free DPS, give or take. I would preferably use it to just make it a little bit faster without him doing the breath attack and then immediately going back into his poison stage. Once you have all those 4 items, you can freely combine them, but before you go into the next zone, you have to complete this puzzle. I'm gonna explain this puzzle pretty quickly. You have to remember the order after you activate this puzzle that these pillars get lit up, and you need to attack these pillars in the same order that they got lit up. Once you attack all 8 of them in the same order as they got lit up, the puzzle is completed, and the lightning beam hallway further on is disabled, meaning that you won't get insta-killed in that lightning hallway if by any chance you try to go through it already. So it is recommended to do this puzzle every time you're in this dungeon. I'm not sure if you can iframe through. I mean, I kinda did on Tamer, but I'm not sure if that's supposed to work even. So regardless, it's a pretty easy puzzle. Just remember the order and attack it at the same order that it started, so to say. In this puzzle, it's basically a color game, and this color game is you start with the white color. It sends out a beam into the next portal, and every portal has a color. It also comes out of the color that you shoot it into. So if I shoot from the white color, into purple, it comes out of purple into the next color. The idea behind this minigame is, or this puzzle, that you have to start at white and you have to end up at blue, but you have to hit every single color. So ideally, if I start out at white, you want to go into a different color, that color goes into a different color, and that keeps going until the only color left is blue, and that's the last color that has to be hit by the prerequisite, I'm not sure how the word is to that, but by the last color that it was hit by. Once you hit all of the colors and the blue color is the last one that you get into, this puzzle is completed and you can go on to the last mini boss before the main dish, so to say. So in this example, while I was doing the puzzle, it's always a bit different, but in this one I went from white to purple, from purple into green, from green into orange, from orange into yellow, from yellow into pink, from pink into blue. And this got me a complete on the puzzle, and that's how you mainly do it. You can rotate every single one of them from down to up, and you can rotate them through the Sol Magia itself, just clockwise, the bottom ones. Now in the next one, it's the whale boss. I'm not sure, I always call it the whale boss, I don't know its actual name, Lachtaron I guess. You have to put all the 6 lightning crabs into the pillars, and how do you do that? You just have to attack the mobs and they start running away from you in that direction for a tiny bit. Once all of 6 of them are there, the boss gets down and you have your first DPS stage. In the second stage, it's the same thing, but now there is this mini whale that you have to kill. And once you kill the mini whale, the boss gets down again and you have another DPS stage. It's fairly easy, nothing too hard. You just have to watch out for the AOEs he does when he's up in the sky flying. And if in the second DPS stage you do fail to kill him, you have a third DPS stage, and the third stage is also very simple. You just destroy all the pillars. You don't have to bother with the mobs anymore on the third stage. You just take care of the pillars and that's done. Now for the next part is the main dish, the boss himself. Now I want you all to remember this small picture here, and I want you all to select one of the color in the party. It's either going to be yellow, red, white or blue. Now another thing I want you all to remember is turn your effect opacity to 100, turn off faraway effects, put on your boss camera and zoom out. Once you've selected all your pizza slice, which you have to do, you have numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, everyone gets a pizza slice and you stay on your pizza slice for the whole boss battle. The person that selects number 4 is in care of changing the level difficulty of the boss. If you change it to level 1, you're not gonna deal any damage to the boss, but he's barely gonna deal any to you. Level 2, you barely deal any damage, boss deals barely any damage to you. Level 3, you deal good damage against the boss deals moderate damage against you. Level 4, Hell House, but you deal a lot of damage to the boss. You want to only use level 4 for certain mechanics only. Now let's go to the normal attacks of the boss. Let me quickly explain you every single normal attack he does before we go into the stages. The first one attack is just his regular breath. His regular breath attack is pretty lethal, and I would really highly suggest when you put it on level 3, which I highly suggest you to put it on, to either dodge it out, frontal guard it, or be careful. Now, his other attacks are inner and outer circle. We'll start with the outer circle. When you see an indication like this one, it's just an outer circle. Just go inside the boss as close as possible to him and be careful for the inner circle afterwards, because it sometimes does chain it. Don't just super armor out of it, try to frontal guard or iframe it. These are like some lethal attacks that you can dodge, so make sure to dodge it. When he starts spinning around like this, make sure to go quickly to the Sol Magia, the person that is on pizza slice number 4, and take care of the Soul Magi and put it on level 1. Because when you put it on level 1, this attack doesn't do any damage or barely any damage in Elvia. Now if you don't do it, he will deal a lot of damage, even potentially killing your party members. So please make sure to do this and attend to this Soul Magi as often as possible when your party needs to. Then you have this Deadly Lines attack, or whatever you want to call it. I call it Deadly Lines. Just dodge it out, be safe, don't risk too much. Then his next possible attack that he can do is he can do a suction attack. He sucks you into an area, and your objective is to run to the stone pillar closest to you. Now I ran to the further one away, and luckily I had V, but if you don't have V, I wouldn't risk it. I would always run to the closest one and just be smart. Then the next one is the prison pillars, or the prison stones. Now when this happens to you, you can see the animation before it spawns, but if it happens to you, yell at your party members to come and help you out and get rid of it. If you see a party member being stuck, make sure to help them out as well. Then you have the chess version of Deadly Lines. Just make sure you stand on the diagonal place and you should be safe to DPS. And then this one is tricky. You can actually hug the boss and most of the damage you will dodge. I call them Hurty Zones. I mean, our party calls it Hurty Zones. Just make sure to dodge out that damage because it does hurt. On level 3, it can actually 2 to 3 shot you. And these Soul Magias, or these disco balls that spawn, make sure to collect their lights. That's the only way you get rid of them. They despawn after you collect 2 lights for the fishes and 1 light for the laser beams. So, now the stages. The first stage at around 90% is the fish stage. The reason why you all have a pizza slice is because you want to be at the fish stage as soon as possible to your fish. If your fish glows once or twice, doesn't matter how many times it glows, after the circle bubble spawn, you kill it. If it didn't glow at all, you leave it alive. If you left the correct one alive that didn't glow, it shouldn't glow when it gets to the boss, and that is when you know that you successfully did the first stage. Just make sure to only kill the ones that glow, leave the one that doesn't glow alive. After that you have another DPS stage until he hits 80% health, and at 80% health we have the Squid game. When the Squid game begins, I want you to put it at level 3 or level 2 at the very least. 4 of the party members go and they kill the glowing squid. Meanwhile, 1 party member is looking for the thickest light beam and pings it to his party member. And you have to put it down exactly on the ping where I pinged. That's where you have to put the item down. The people that killed the squid can pick up the item. I highly recommend putting all pets off or leave 1 party member pets on, and that party member can always put it down. That will make it way easier and way less hectic, and it's just nicer overall to have 1 person in charge of that. Once you've done the mechanic correctly, you have a DPS stage where the boss doesn't do anything. You can put on level 4 for approximately 15 to 20 seconds to DPS hardcore. Once you have done the DPS, and if it gets down to 65%, it's gonna be the next stage, which is the light game. Now, the reason why you all had to remember a color in the party is because it's gonna start beaming colors on the pizza slices. And the color that beams the most is the one that's gonna give you protection. If you go to the corresponding wall, because on the outskirts there's walls with those colors, as you can see, red wall, yellow wall, white wall, and you need to be at the wall that blinked the most on the ground. So if color white blinked 6 times, you go to white, and if that was the one that blinked the most. If color red, blinked 7 times and white blinked 6, you go to obviously the highest number that you saw. And you make sure to always count your own color. Trust in your party members, because if you try to count them all, you might get stuck on some colors and it might screw you up, so I don't recommend it. Everyone choose a color and you focus on it. The next stage comes in at 45%. Now at 45%, you're gonna have a symbol game. And what you gotta do is, during that symbol game, you see on the pillars the symbols that you have to stand on the half slice of the pizza. So now it's not 6 slices, it's only 2 slices. You have to imagine that. And you have to stand on the icon that is on the ground, that is the same on the stone pillar on your side. You have to do that successfully twice in a row, and then you pass the stage and he doesn't wipe you. If you do fail and you stand on the wrong one, you fail the stage and he wipes you. So make sure to take a close look on which symbols are, so that your party doesn't get wiped. Now after this stage is done, you again get a free DPS stage. It's not as long as the previous one, it's a bit shorter. Regardless, you have a bit of free time to DPS. Also, make sure to take care of those light bulbs, because the only way to stop those disco balls is by taking care of them. Now after you reach a certain point at 35-ish%, it's gonna do another light game. It's the same principle, you just count the colors and you make sure that everyone has their own color and that they're counting it, and you go stand on the color that beamed the most. Once you've done that, you go to the corresponding wall of the color, you get yourself the buff. You have to hug the wall, keep that in mind. You have to actually go into the wall and get the color. Now, if you have a bubble around you of the color that should protect you, then you have gotten the buff. If you didn't get any bubble around you, you know that you didn't get the buff. So make sure you have the bubble around you. Now at 25%, he's gonna do a small cutscene, and after the cutscene there's gonna be 2 stages extra that you have to take care of. One is level security 2, where he's gonna spawn 2 scorpions that you just have to destroy and kill as soon as possible. You have plenty of time to kill them, but I would still, for safety measures, split up your party into, if 4 people are alive, split it up in 2 and 2. If all people are alive, split it up in 3 and 2, and help each other out when you're done DPSing your side. You want to kill those scorpions up until 50% health, and then they get automatically destructed. If you fail to kill the scorpions, he will wipe you, and he will wipe the entire party, and you will have to start over from 0 again. So my recommendation, split the party, DPS the scorpions as soon as possible, and once you're done with DPSing them, you can DPS the boss again until 15% health. Then the boss will get into the next stage. So once you reach to level 3, combat readiness increased to level 3 means that there's going to be light pillars, beams, whatever you want to call them. I'm just calling them ray lights. Once they spawn on the outer edges, all you gotta do is go to the outer edges and destroy those lights. They are really not tanky, there's not much to it. You just go, you attack them, you make sure that they're destroyed. If you fail to kill these lights, he will get enraged and he will wipe your party. It would be a shame to fail this at the end, so make sure to focus them. And guys, use your frontal guards. Don't just run around with super armors, because if he does scary attacks, as you can see, I can entirely frontal guard them without any problem. So can you. You get a debuff though from the boss that is 15 seconds that you can't recover your frontal guard. Then after that light stage, you get another scorpion stage. I've even had that I had the light stage twice. I'm not sure if that's always the case, but just keep an eye out on them again. Get rid of the scorpions again, get rid of the lights again if they do show up again, and proceed on DPSing the boss until he dies. And pretty much that's all the mechanics of the boss. If I rush something and if you guys got questions, ask them down below in the comments. I'm pretty sure I did explain everything. If I missed out anything, please reach out and let me know. But that's about all the mechanics and my party strategy on the take of killing the boss. Now once you're done with the boss, as per usual, you get the scroll of knowledge and you get a key. you do not require those rubies that were in the previous dungeon. You only require a key and 10k agris per reward. You can clear it twice a week on 2 different characters and claim the reward twice. Only the first one in LV is good, the second one is less good. The first one is basically an accessory box of 3 different accessories up to duo. The second one is only base accessories. So you can clear LV if you want to. The reward is almost the same as the non-LV one. So as you can see, this is the reward for LV clear. This is what you get out of it, and this is the box with accessories that you get on your first LV clear. On the non-LV it's the same, but there's no duo accessories. So if you do want to give it a try, if you do want to clear Elvia, I'm pretty sure you can clear it. And my recommended gear for the dungeon would be 281 AP at least, with at least 340 DP. I'm not gonna go too hardcore into the gear, but I believe with that kind of gear you should be able to clear. Also, after your first clear of Elvia or normal, you get 2 extra chests that you can get from your white app. Make sure to collect them and add your extra loot for accomplishing such a big achievement as clearing this dungeon. So guys, hope this guide was useful to you. Thank you for listening. Hope you all got all the information that was important, and I'll see you in the next one.